Hey guys, Neeb here. This is probably the most expensive week of fragrances that I've worn. All of them are new. Every single day I've worn a new fragrance, and some of which I haven't even made a short for because I've probably rocked it to sleep. So starting things off with a Lattafa fragrance that you guys probably haven't seen yet, or maybe have heard one or two mentions. It was Art of Wood, and I've only personally rocked this to bed more recently. It smells a lot like Perseus with a little bit more vanilla. Surprisingly close and high quality. I don't know if everybody really is going to be the biggest fan of this one because of the fact that vetiver in itself can be polarizing. It's a very intensive, brittle style of woods nuance. However, there is a pretty realistic pomelo and grapefruit with this one. So it's not your typical citrus, bergamot, just give me fresh lemons, and no. So it does have a little bit of that bitterness that you'll find with the grapefruit, balanced out nicely with some vanilla, etc. So it does get relatively close, but it's not as fresh, which in turn turns into a pretty long-lasting fragrance. This is something that has lingered on for like 7 hours. I've been around the house lounging. I'll get back from the gym, I'll spray it on, I can smell it for the rest of the night. So pretty good. I wouldn't say that I'm ready to give it like a full review, but the wearing of it so far for like two nights, I would say, has been pretty nice. Pretty high quality, especially coming from Lattafa, but then again, it's around $55 to $60. Like always, check the links down in the description. But if you like Perseus and you want to get into that realm, that's a pretty good one. I will say it's a bit more interesting than certain fragrances that do just like, Terre d'Hermès, vetiver, intense, etc., where it's just like citrus and vetiver, etc. And it's not because Lattafa made the most interesting vetiver fragrance, it's because Perseus in itself is a little bit more unique than those. It definitely has a bit more of a citrus pop, and this one takes it, and even further, you could argue, makes it a little bit more interesting if you like that vanilla. Making it appropriate for the fall, and even if you want to freshly during the wintertime, I think that it'll do just fine. It's just not the most appropriate sun profile. Other than that, the performance I would assume is going to give me relatively consistently 7 hours, 7-8 hours. It's not going to be anything beastly, but it was definitely there. I do want to wait until I give it a full actual review, which is a couple of wearings for this one at least. It's sometimes I'm ready for a full review after like 2-3 wears, but with this one, I don't think that I was conscious enough of like performance, etc. every time that I put it on. However, the occasions for this is going to be pretty versatile. I would dress it up or even dress it down because of the fact that it does smell pretty high quality. It's a cheapie, yes, but it doesn't smell like a cheapie at all. Put aside the bottle, put aside the box. If you spray it on a tester strip, people are going to think that this is coming from either a designer, high-level designer, or niche. I wouldn't even really call the scent profile of this one that niche, honestly. It's pretty designer, high-quality designer level of juice. And I know you guys are going to jump in the comment section and say all that stuff, but I love the house of PDM, regardless of the fact a lot of brands do inspired by. Everything is inspired by, right? Like even back to the 70s TVs, and we're inspired by each other. Wait, what? Does that even make any sense? I don't know, bro. But that's just the way it is, right? Your neighbor got a TV. Well, this is back in the 70s, so you guys probably won't relate, but there were studies of like, your neighbor got TVs in the 70s, everybody else wanted a TV, and then, the next person got a flat screen, and they got a flat screen, and each brand was developing this trend, One brand started with like the flat screen, and the other brand was like, okay, we'll do a flat screen, but we'll also give it a twist of ours. So it applies everywhere, guys. So I'm not hating on any of the brands. I think that they're all excellent. And one thing's for sure is the quality of PDMs are absolutely there and high quality. Moving on to the next one. This is also another one that I was rocking more so during the nighttime, and it's called Massad. Massad is a new one from Wataniah. Wataniah is the same brand that made Cayenne Classic, the best Dior Homme Intense styled fragrance for like under $35. It gives me, it's not the longest lasting thing in the world, but it still personally has given me up to 8 hours. So I would say that it's pretty good. If you liked Gris Charnel from Liam Gray, believe it or not, some people cannot even afford to ever smell Gris Charnel, and they've only smelled it through Lattafa's Liam Gray. So I'm not dogging on anybody, not hating on it. I will say that I am personally in favor of the actual Gris Charnel and Gris Charnel Extrait because you're gonna get ultimately the best of that because it is that, right? But these aren't that. You're not that guy, my guy, but they get pretty damn goodly close. There you go. And that's exactly what this one is. Imagine Liam Gray or Gris Charnel, which has this floral, powdery style of iris. It also has this pretty juicy, watery fig with some musks and aromatics. At least that's what it smells like to me. It's a beautiful fragrance that utilizes the note of tea. This one also has some more of a raunchy amber and patchouli. I think it's much sexier. I think it's much sexier and pretty damn unisex. I will say, however, though, that for the most part, this fragrance was giving me around like 6 hours, and it wasn't anything like projection crazy. But then again, it's a more sophisticated scent, and it gave me the vibe of this is how it should be. Not sure, also gonna be testing these, and let's move on into the fragrances now that I have officially tested. So we're gonna start things off with Roja's Amber Oud. Amber Oud is a pretty interesting and funny story because of the fact that we're gonna throw the box away. Initially, I absolutely hated this fragrance because, you know, I wasn't really ready for it, man. It was ambery and animalistic and musky with a lot of florals. Yeah, you know, bright florals, etc. And some oud. The animalistic nature of this one is coming more so from the ambers, so it could likely be some castoreum, etc. It's not like this oud animalistic. Like when it comes from barnyardy nature or just the animalistic vibe in general comes from the oud, it's much more tolerable for me because it's a more authentic and natural smelling woody. It doesn't go too like recreation of just straight up fecal matter. This one, however, was not really one that was giving me animalistic from that. It was giving me more so from civet. And that's the animalistic that I don't really enjoy. Civet and castoreum, they're a little bit too much because you're actually getting it. You don't even look it up. Look at how they get those excrements, etc. But anyways, I doubt that there's any natural civet in here just because of the, you know, the whole IFRA regulation. I will say that you can still nowadays find it, and especially in its raw form as well. However, like I was saying, that's why I didn't really enjoy this initially. So like I was saying, initially I didn't really enjoy this because the animalistic nature was coming from civet and not the oud. It was still a little bit early for me to really detect or understand why I didn't enjoy it, but that's exactly why I did not enjoy it. A lot of florals, animalistic undertone, and musks more so than the oud itself. So once I came around to enjoying amber fragrances more than oud, that's when I started to enjoy this. I just kind of fell for the name of like amber oud, thinking I was gonna get both. And you do get both, but you definitely get much more of the amber than anything. The amber in this one is pretty floral in nature, it's pretty bright, and then animalistic undertone. So it does have a femininity to it as well. But gentlemen, you could easily rock this. It's majestic in the air. Do not try and smell this one up close. But even then, I mean, it's not like my favorite thing in the world. I've smelled a couple of niche fragrances, DNAs from the Middle East that utilize this very similar scent profile, and this scent profile is not that new. However, the quality of this one is outstanding. So I've got a few favorites of mine that utilize this very similar nature that maybe focus a little bit more on the oud, like Arabian Oud's Nejd, which is only $150, or like 120. Check the links in the description, man. The quality, absolutely there. Also lasts all day, and the animalistic nature from this one comes more so from the oud, kind of, you know, fixing what I don't like about the fragrance. I will say though that I can appreciate this thing on its own. It's relatively different than that, but if I were to take this DNA and take it more towards the oudi realm, that would be it. It's called Nejd. There's one more, it's called Zafaf by Dar Atib, and this one kind of goes in a very similar direction. However, it tones down the animalistic nature and the acidity of the rose in this fragrance. So it's kind of a little bit more of a neutral scent profile, focusing a bit more on the like deer musks, if you will, giving it more of this camphorous vibe. So it's kind of like fuzzy in texture, but also woody as well. So Zafaf and Nejd are both, in my opinion, ones that I will lean towards more so, especially when the weather gets cooler. This one I'll still rock and I'll still wear it during the time where it's like spring, early spring and early fall time where it's not too cold. The total longevity of this one didn't give me more than about like 6.5 hours. I was expecting a little bit more so, but nevertheless, it was beautiful. The projection was nice, and I honestly sprayed it a lot, and it was not overbearing by any means, but the fragrance in itself is polarizing. It is not safe, so one spray might be too much if you don't like testing boundaries. Simple as that. This one does stain clothing, so be careful with that, but nevertheless, it was a pretty damn good wearing. So I spent a little bit more time on this because you spend a lot of money on this, you know. I paid like, what was it, like 350 or 400? I don't even remember anymore. For that, you should definitely dig into your scents, break them down, and analyze. Moving on to the next one, let me give you guys a breath of fresh air with something that's a little bit lighter on the pockets. Although this one goes for around $55 or $60, Art of Nature 2 by Lattafa. Also smells a lot like Altair, and it's extremely close, especially in the opening. You're gonna get this vanilla ambroxan, orange flower, and some cinnamon, except as it starts to dry down, it drops some of that vanilla, and it really holds on to the orange flower with those green undertones. There's something about it at hour 3 where I'm just like, okay, I kind of want to wash it off, not gonna lie, but still really good, and I think a lot of people are gonna enjoy this one. But what it all came down to for me was this versus Liquid Brood. Obviously, I have to keep all biases aside. Although I love Fragrance World, I do love Lattafa fragrances as well. I looked at them for what they were. flower scents. And so finally at the end of the night, first off, after hour 3, I knew right away, I was like, I'm not feeling this. There's something about it I'm not feeling. And I tried to pinpoint exactly what it was, and that's what I came down to, was like the orange flower seems a bit high. It has like this floral, dry and green nature to it that got like, I don't want to call it cloying, just got annoying. So at the end of the night, I went, sprayed on Liquid Brew, and I was doing some comparisons, just went about the rest of my night, and Liquid Brew definitely is better for me. This doesn't take away credibility from this fragrance. I think it's still a great fragrance, and especially if you enjoy that scent profile, maybe you want to do some comparisons yourself. Art of Nature too. Moving on to the next one. This I wore earlier on. I'm not sure if I even talked about this one. I probably did in another video, so let's make it quick. It's a very vanillic and sugary sweet fragrance with a little bit of cinnamon and rum. If you liked Lattafa's Eclair, this one, which smells a lot like Bianco Latte, this one's a bit more tolerable. It still has that sugary blast of sweetness, obviously, because they're using the same oils across the brand, except this one makes it a bit more unisex appropriate with those spices and the rum. Simple as that. It smells like a more expensive fragrance. They're saying sugar addict or something like that. I haven't personally smelled it. It's a little too sugary for me. This isn't something that I'm gonna be rushing to wear ever again, honestly, unless it's like the holidays where it's like sugar cookie vibes, cupcakes, etc. That's what it's perfect for. For ladies and for gentlemen, more appropriate for the ladies for sure. The projection of it and the longevity of it was fantastic. I mean, it's not going anywhere. And that's actually similar to Art of Nature 2, by the way. This one on clothing lasted the entire day. This is nuclear stuff though. You do have to be careful with it. Beastly stuff, only wear it during the fall and the winter time. And that's pretty much it. Now we're back into a pleasant surprise. And this was a beautiful blind buy. It's called Regalien Antidote. This is an excellent fragrance. And honestly, probably one of the best blind buys of 2024. It is a little bit pricey, okay? I picked it up at Max Aroma, I used my own code, and it helped. Why wouldn't I help myself out? And if you want to do the same, you could do the same. Check the links in the description where you can save some dough on Regalien Istanbul. Wait, no, it's called Antidote. So Antidote is kind of an appropriate name. The whole honey vibe, it kind of gives me like this venomous vibe. I don't know, man. Venomous? What are you talking about, bro? The story, let's make this long story short. It's got like a tobacco honey, an indolic jasmine. It's thick, but also light at the same time. It's long lasting, but it's not cloying at all. And that's what I have to emphasize on it, is it's crazy. And usually that's an indicative, or that is indicative of quality. When you have a thick fragrance, but no matter what, and no matter how many times you spray, it's never too much. And it also indicates that they use the right type, the way that it was crafted was appropriate for the scent profile. So they use the right type of diffusive, maybe compounds that help with projection, etc. Sometimes they'll use hedione, ambroxan, things like that can help. But this does go on the floral side of things, potentially being hedione. Another note that they use is like cast cologne, but that'll give you the watery vibe, or cologne, more known for in Louis Vuitton fragrances. With this one, basically smells like is honey and tobacco. It's not like this golden blonde, but it is a blonde honey. It's a little bit more ambery as well, and it has the inclusion of patchouli. So this absolutely places me in the realm of Naxos. But you guys, this is better than Naxos. And I know that's a big ass statement to make, but that is genuine. Now hear me out. Here's my bottle of Naxos. And this really is not the easiest fragrance to wear. It's kind of like a weird haircut phase where you're like, you don't know if you're growing it yet or you're gonna cut it, but it's like in that mid phase where it's not ready yet. And I think the reason is because there's an old school vibe to Naxos that I just can't really with. I know it's a beautiful fragrance. Every time I've worn it, I can't overspray it because when I do, I get like this weird musk vibe that's a bit too much. It's probably the lavender or the cashmere in this one. And when I underspray it, it's like I can't smell it. So I'm stuck in this realm of like, what the f do I do? Do I even wear it? And I don't end up wearing it, honestly. The scent profile is beautiful. I'd like to smell it, but I don't like to smell it on me. I could not wear it. I can't wear it. I've smelled it on people and it smells fantastic, but I'm pretty damn sure that it's the combination of the cashmere, the lavender, which gives it this old school frothy vibe. It kind of like shaving creams it up. It makes it creamy and a little bit thick. And also that tonka bean mixture. It's like, gives it like this musky, sweetened, old school lavender. Just think of a shaving cream that just smells sweet. It gives it that kind of texture. Now with this Antidote, it off the top, if you compare them, there's absolutely a difference. This is not a clone. And in fact, I think it's a better scent profile. And I'll tell you why. So the first reason that I think this is better is because it ditches is the old school use of the lavender. Lavender is a beautiful note, but in a combination or a certain combination, it can emphasize certain traits that I personally don't like. That frothy nature, it works, but not in this scent profile, because you already have like this indolic kind of fatty textured floral, and them together kind of just emphasizes a little bit more so, and then you add cashmere in. So it goes away from that texture, but rather what you already have in this one is a pretty thick and indolic floral jasmine, soft bed with some glazed golden honey, beautiful stuff, and some tobacco. You also do get this warm ambery vanilla and patchouli. The tonka bean can sometimes contribute a little bit more or emphasize a little bit more on the musky tones of a fragrance, and this one does not do that. In fact, what this replaces the lavender with is a bit more aromatic and crisp nuances that kind of gives it more of a modernity and also more mass appeal, especially in the opening. So this one opens up with nutmeg, rose leaf, and geranium at the top. Much more interesting and appealing, and right from the top, I can enjoy this fragrance. It's like a 9.5 out of 10, honestly. It's a great fragrance, but it's the opening where I'm like, okay, you know, it's not bad, let me get into it. It kind of smells a little old school. As it starts to dry down, it's beautiful. This, mark my words, from the top to the dry down, it's a 10 out of 10. And that's pretty much it. I like it more. I like it a lot more. To simplify the differences, more aromatic, way more modern, and this one does have like a more musky, frothy style of old school style of lavender. So, performance. I sprayed this 8 times and I could keep going, but I didn't want to because it was strong. This stuff was strong and it lingered literally the entire day. With Naxos, like I said, I can't really spray it too much. After 6 sprays, it starts to get too musky, too frothy, and that lavender really starts to take over because lavender is pretty damn strong. It does dry down better, but still, I'm all for the opening, as we all are. So even though I sprayed this 8 times, it was still pretty diffusive. It did not choke me out. Well, initially it did choke me out, so be careful with the trigger because it's pretty strong. This is an extrait de parfum, and it lasted the entire time, projecting the entire time. I will give Naxos its credit, although I never really got more than about like 7.5 hours with Naxos, and with Regalien Istanbul, I'm not gonna say that it's a beastly longevity, but it gave me more longevity than Naxos, giving me about 9 to 10 hours. You guys, overall, it's a better scent profile. I give it a 10 out of 10. This is better than Naxos. Sample it, get your nose on it, and you'll see for yourself. Moving on to the next one. This is an expensive ass fragrance from Bond number 9. This is called Dubai Gold. Dubai Gold is this fresh sandalwood based fragrance. It's a fragrance that kind of dances in the realm of something like Louis Vuitton Lovers, but this obviously came way before that. Louis Vuitton Lovers, Santal 33, etc. I think it's a beautiful fragrance, and although it doesn't have like a Aoud scent profile, it will give you this shavings style cedar wood. Not shaving cream, nothing of shaving cream. So it kind of reminds me of like those popular aspects to what was that discontinued Gucci Porom 2, the pencil shavings, etc., but the highest of quality. It smells extremely luxurious, fresh, shaved sandalwood fragrance. A more specific scent profile, it does smell like money, basically. I see an older gentleman with money rocking something like this to the office, daily, etc. Just enough freshness, just enough woody, just enough ambery. It's a beautiful scent profile, and that is spicy as well. It doesn't necessarily have a funk, but there are some spices in there that can be testy to some of you out there. The one good thing about this is that you can easily sample it at any Neiman Marcus. You just walk in and try it out. So the downside of it might be the price tag, but if you can find it on discounters, check it out. I will say the only thing about this fragrance is that I wish it gave me a little bit more longevity. It gave me about 7 hours, and for the first hour and a half, it was like the most projecting. After that, it was kind of like a very close encounter scent. For the price point, I wanted a little bit more so, but the quality of this and the way that it smells, it's phenomenal. You do have to enjoy spices, you guys. It's not like Middle Eastern smelling, but it's like borderline tickling the idea of cumin. It's not there yet, but it's tickling the idea. Batik. This is the last one of the week, you guys, and it's a phenomenal fragrance that got me compliments. I test my fragrances everywhere, and I wore it to the gym. You get this for less than $100 on Max Aroma. I've been blind buying a lot more niche recently, and this has to be my latest blind buy from niche fragrances, at least. Now, if you don't like amber fragrances or patchouli, those are the only 2 people that I can see not liking this. And what in fact this ends up smelling like is the sexiest amber fragrance in the family of Grand Soir that I've put my nose to. Period. And I don't care what it smells like. It has resemblances to, well, I mean, like what it resembles, actually. It resembles Killian's Intoxicated, which is like a 9.5 out of 10 for me, Almost a 10 out of 10. It's just a dry down. And also ambers from like Grand Soir. This is better than Grand Soir, by the way. And then also the similar patchouli with that chocolatey vibe from Angel Men from Thierry Mugler, the old school one. All of those aspects combined into one. That is what this smells like. Imagine that. And the reason I use those scent profiles is because now it makes sense. Now it's like, oh, okay, these are fragrances that I can, actually, pinpoint. And maybe I've smelled Killian Intoxicated. Maybe I've smelled, a lot more people have smelled those. And for those of you who haven't smelled those, what this basically smells like is this warm, ambery cup of coffee. Ambery cup of coffee, really. It smells like a cup of Turkish coffee or Middle Eastern coffee with cardamom. The incense kind of just recreates the whole, fumes coming off. Is that what they're called? The vapors coming off of the Turkish coffee. It's not incensey in the sense that you're like, burning wood. And then as it starts to dry down, you might have like a little bark of Middle Eastern vanilla coffee. It's like, no, not coffee, desserts, man, dessert. It's like this just sugary dessert. Oftentimes what they do is they make a simple syrup, and it's made with simple syrup, which is just sugar melted with water. And sometimes they'll put a little bit of cardamom spice, maybe even sometimes clove. This doesn't have clove. And they'll also add vanilla extract to that. Now, simple syrup desserts, along with your Turkish coffee that has that cardamom in a bottle. It's that good. I need to start censoring my words, man. Haram, astaghfirullah. God forgive me. Being vulgar is nasty, but welcome to the USA. Anyways, long story short, this is a freaking 10 out of 10. Also a 10 out of 10. Look, it's really hard to get 10s in my books, and I know we have 2 10s here, but I spent a lot of money too. So if this was like, a little bit cheaper, it would be a fucking 15 out of 10. But this, for the price and everything, it's a 10 out of 10. If you like amber fragrances. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, rankings and ratings are always subjective, but they're always 100% true when it comes to this channel. I can't speak for everybody else, but there's no shame in me telling you guys how I feel about my fragrances and how I like mine. So I give this a 10 out of 10. I give this also a 10 out of 10. I gave this like an 8.25. I wish the performance was a little bit more so. This one, like I said, is around the 7 mark for men. And then like I was saying, with Art of Nature 2, I think it deserves an 8, but for me, it's like more 7.5. And then when we're talking about Art of Wood really quick, this, honestly, I've been enjoying this. It's like 8.75, maybe even a 9. I have to give it more conscious wearings. The scent profile of this is fantastic. As of right now, I'd give it an 8.75. And lastly, the Roja Amber Oud, 8.25. Quality's fantastic. The longevity could have been better, but that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. This was my last week's worth of wearing, and these videos are great if you want to really find out what I think about fragrances that I wear that I don't make content with, because honestly, like, some of these fragrances are just not worth me sitting up here on camera and talking about them, but I do find value in telling you guys the pros and the cons of all fragrances, not just coming on here and giving you guys recommendations. And if you're interested in that, these are the videos to watch. So hit that subscribe button. My name is Neve. Thank you for tuning back into AROMATIX, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.